Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Saints Insider Podcast. Today is Friday, September the 26th. And on this podcast, we ask the important questions like, when are the Buffalo Bills ever going to beat the New Orleans Saints at home? Because it hasn't happened since 1983, which is one of the more shocking facts about this series that isn't played very often. And we get the latest iteration on Sunday, and I think...
Do you want an answer to this question? They're going to beat the New Orleans Saints at home on Sunday.
The predictions are at the end of the show, Lou.
Oh, well, I'm just getting right to it. I won't get to my score prediction just yet, but all
right, I've got 34 to...
I have full faith and confidence in the Buffalo Bills to get it done this week.
Was it 80? You said 83?
83.
That's the only time they beat.
That's the first time they played in Buffalo, and the only time Buffalo has won. They're like 5-7 against New Orleans, but only one win at home.
Yeah, that's a really crazy stat.
And only one win against them, I think, since 1998, and that was the last time they played the Thanksgiving night game.
This is going to only be their second time facing Josh Allen, right?
Yeah,
correct. Yeah. So kind of a strange series, but obviously the Saints big underdogs. We are here to take you through it. He's Rod Walker, Luke Johnson, Matthew Paris, and we'll go through this game. I mean, look. Let's start here. The Saints are 15.5-point underdogs. The line opened at 16.5. They're obviously huge. I mean, you see the money line on the screen there. They're 9-1 just to win this game. They're crazy underdogs. That does not mean that teams in this position never win games.
What was the line last week with the Packers-Browns?
It was
9.5. I can't imagine it was that big. But you see crazy stuff happen in the NFL all the time. I mean, I am not going to predict the Saints to win this game, but would it be like a complete unknown? It would be a complete shock.
Yes.
It's not like completely out of the realm of possibility though.
There's no 0%.
It's the NFL. Like crazy stuff happens. This would certainly qualify as crazy stuff though.
So I did some stat heading, and stat head goes back at least into the 50s.
Okay.
And they have point spreads for most of those games. And so I looked up point spreads of 15.5 or more. And again, the spread could change by Sunday, but 15.5 or more, there have been 366 games. And the underdog has won almost exactly 10% of them, 36 with 2 ties. So, they win 10% of the time in these games, which is why the line is probably about 9-1. They do cover the spread slightly better than 50-50, 188, 168, and 10. The last time it happened, it's been 5 years, 2020. It did happen 3 years in a row, 2018, 19, and 20. It did not happen before that. You have to go all the way back to 1995. So
So that's a chance.
It's rare, but it's the Lloyd Christmas, right? Like there is a chance the Saints win this game. I don't think we should talk about it like it's 0%.
Yeah.
But I think what the context of this is like what happened to the Saints last week makes it feel more unlikely that they could go.
I mean, look, like we've been talking about these games ever since the schedule first came out, and we all saw the Buffalo game. We're like, nope, no chance. And it feels way, way less likely now after what happened in Seattle last week, versus if they would have gone there and played a similarly competitive game that they played in the first 2 weeks.
I would say it's even less likely after the game Buffalo played. They struggled against Miami, and that was the game that maybe they let the foot off the gas a little bit because they weren't focused. I would expect with all this rest that they've had now and a kind of a so-so performance that they would be fine, laser focused for this one.
Yeah. NFL didn't do the Saints any favors this time, did they?
Well, we
go to Seattle.
They've always been biased.
You go to the East Coast. You're playing one of the best teams in the NFL who is on 10 days rest. Not lining up very well for New Orleans in this one.
No, but I mean, if you put this game in Week 14 after the Saints had a bye and a couple of home games, they'd probably still lose. So
But this is like worst case.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm. It's like the hardest team on their schedule with the worst circumstances leading up to it. But hey, at least the Saints might be a little bit healthier going into this game.
Well, that's a good place for us to start our breakdown. First, want to let you know Saints Insider is sponsored by Bank Plus. From small business to big business, home loans to bank anywhere technology, Bank Plus is here for New Orleans. New deposit customers can reach out today to learn about incredible rate specials. Learn more at bankplus.net. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. So let's talk injuries. Saints look like they're going to have their full O-line for the first time all year, Matt. Trevor Penning is trending back. Tali Fuaga is trending back. So that's at least a positive.
Yeah, and Fuaga was even a full participant yesterday. So I'm excited to see it. This is kind of what they've been putting all their chips on. Is they've drafted a lot at this position. I think Kelvin Banks has been really solid to start the season for the most part. Fuaga's been a little bit up and down, but I think that can be explained by injuries. And Penning, we'll see. I mean, it seemed like he was really coming into his own before that injury. And, we'll see how he does at a new position. But what I want to see the offensive line make their impact is running the ball, because that's the area that has been really shaky through the first 3 games as far as that unit.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, you look at their best offensive performance of the year so far against San Francisco. It's like the only time they got their run game going. Alvin Kamara had almost 100 yards in that game. They were able to take a lot more play action shots. They had probably their most explosive passing game of the season in that game. They hit Rashid Shaheed on the 39-yarder. I think they had 4 passing plays of 15-plus yards, which is like about half of their season output. So, I agree with Matt. If they're able to get, if like the addition of Penning, if Fuaga being healthy, it means they're able to run the ball a little bit better, especially against Buffalo defense. We just learned just before the show starts, it's going to be without Ed Oliver. And I think Matt Milano too.
Also, yeah.
Really good run defending linebacker, a really good penetrating defensive lineman. That's good. That's an opportunity there for them to maybe get that going. But like, they can't get it going unless they're in like a neutral or positive game script. Like they can't have a start to the game like they did last week against Seattle, where they're down double digits early. Otherwise, it's just going to be back to the same thing we've seen in weeks 1 and 3.
And this is a unit that, I mean, there was a time when we thought, at least I did, we thought this was like the best unit on the team. So now we're finally probably going to get to see them. And they definitely have to start running the ball better. I think they're averaging 3.9 yards a carry, which is like towards the bottom of the league. So that's your best chance to beat this team. I mean, you got to extend some drives and keep Spencer Rattler out of 3rd and longs and keep Buffalo's offense off the field. So running the ball will be really big for this team this week.
One more note about the Milano and Oliver news. The Bills played on Thursday last week, and I could be wrong. It seems to me they weren't ruled out until pretty close, maybe the day before the game. There was a chance that they could have played in that game, and now they're coming off like a mini bye and still not playing. That tells me Buffalo is just sort of like, it's the Saints. We could buy this game, get everybody healthy. They got a division game next week. They got primetime games coming up. I don't know. That's not to say Buffalo is not going to go out there and win the game, but I do think there's a little bit of, like, I don't know that Buffalo is interested in winning this game by 30.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen that a couple times, over the course of the start to this season. I mean, Seattle held out half of its starting secondary last week. I mean, who knows if those guys truly would have been maybe potentially ready to play. But I think that's going to be a thing where if teams like they're kind of on the edge, like we can feel a little comfortable resting them against the Saints, at least until the Saints show they can win a game.
Right. Okay. So we will begin our breakdown. We're going to take a break first here on the Saints Insider. When we come back, we will talk matchups in this New Orleans-Buffalo game.
Banking has come to a crossroads. Do you want to bank with an actual bank, with actual people? You know, one that you can walk into or drive through. Get real help from a real person. Or do you want a bank that lives inside your phone? A digital bank that gives you control of your money anywhere, anytime. Well, why not both? Bank Plus, a partner in your corner, wherever that may be.
Did they ask you to do the commercial too?
Yeah, but they just gave me one line.
Bet like a Caesar. Like, we're going to sit here and we're going to tell them how Caesar's Sportsbook is just so easy to use that you can watch and bet thousands of sports events, even some NFL games.
They'll probably show us betting on our favourite players and teams at all the Vegas hotspots too.
Like, we have time for that montage.
I told him I couldn't do it.
They couldn't afford me.
And welcome back to the Saints Insider Podcast. We encourage you to subscribe. I can talk. Subscribe to the Saints on NOLA.com YouTube channel. That's where we post all of our videos. We had one of Cam Jordan kind of cutting up during stretch lines yesterday. The parts of practice we can see, some interviews as well going up on there all the time, and also our live postgame shows, which we will have one These guys will all be at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York, and they will join us. Jeff Duncan is like on the road. He's officiating a wedding this weekend. How would you like to be married by Jeff Duncan?
Pass.
You're getting married, Matt. Are you interested?
The best wedding I've ever had.
So Jeff is officiating a
Everybody
wedding,
be
but
absent
he is dedicated. He's going to stop on the road somewhere around Jackson, Mississippi, and join me for the post-game show. He'll watch the game on TV. He'll join the post-game show. So we'll have that after Sunday's game. So let's break this thing down. We'll start when the Saints have the ball. And Matt, you said it. Like, the Saints very clearly, this gets forgotten, but they actually had a pretty good start against Seattle, just the first 5 plays. Alvin Kamara got a couple of nice runs. They had set up they were ahead of the sticks on down and distance. They went across midfield. They had a 2nd and 2. Then things went off the rails, obviously. They threw incomplete, I think, on 3rd and 2, and then, turn it over on downs, and then the whole avalanche starts. But, that's clearly what they're trying to do.
Yeah, trying to establish the run. I think they need to really hit on some of these deep shots just to keep Buffalo off guard. I know that's very obvious, but they haven't really had those explosives. Go read Luke's story about that. Just to be able to change these games, and I just think Buffalo will be able to kind of sit back and play a lot of this zone defense that they like to do. But if they can run the ball and keep Buffalo's offense off the field, like Rod said, I think that's going to be a really important thing. And if they are going to have long drives, they need to sustain them with actual touchdowns. That's what Miami did. They ran a lot of bubble screens, a lot of flat throws, and then they were able to score in the red zone once they got there. So a similar game plan, I think, because they can't replicate the Ravens game plan from a couple weeks ago where they put 40 on them. That's they don't have Lamar Jackson, obviously.
Well, that's the thing is the Bills are they're last or second to last in rushing defense, 156 yards per game. But some of that is because they faced the Ravens, and the Ravens ran for 1,000 yards on them. But the Jets and Dolphins both went over the 100-yard mark, so it's not like you can't run on this team.
Yeah, and I know I'm going back 8 years, but the last time the Saints went up there, Kamara and Mark Ingram both went over 100 yards. They had 6 rushing touchdowns, and it was like a blowout win by the Saints. But if they can somehow bottle that up, and with the addition of Penning coming back and Fuaga healthy, if they can run the ball, I do think that is their chance to win the game. I don't think there's any other recipe for a victory other than that.
So you're calling Kendrick Miller over 100 yards plus Alvin over 100. That's
no, I'm not. They won't get enough carries to do that because they'll be playing from behind.
It'll be Devin Neal over.
Yeah, that's part of it too, Luke, is game state. Because if you fall behind a couple touchdowns, this goes out the window.
Well, that's it was. I did write a story on their explosive passing game this week, and it was hard to actually write that this week because every time I was asking them about it as a season whole picture, they're like, yeah, well, we were down so big so early, they were just able to play, quarters coverage the whole game. It didn't matter. But truthfully, the Saints have not they have the least explosive offense in the NFL. They have no runs of 20-plus yards. They have 1 pass play of 25-plus yards. They're the only team in the league that doesn't have at least 2. Buffalo has 8. They've got to get the game to be in like I was saying earlier, a neutral or a positive game script to where they're not in this big deficit to run the full gamut of their offense. But these two things go hand in hand. If you're able to get Alvin Kamara and Kendre Miller, or even Spencer Rattler on some design runs, able to get Buffalo creeping up to the line of scrimmage, you can then take advantage of your really special weapons that they haven't been able to get the ball in those downfield situations. Yeah. And part of this too is, Spencer Rattler just needs to be a more accurate downfield thrower. Yeah. It was really surprising when I was looking at the numbers, just because they don't have a single receiver averaging over 10 yards per catch, the explosive play thing that I mentioned, and it just feels like when you're watching these games, they are just committed to the dink and dunk approach. But they have taken a pretty decent number of shots downfield. I think Spencer's either 8th or 10th in the league in just the percentage of throws that are 20-plus air yards. It's just he's not connecting on them. There was the missed touchdown to Chris Olave on the post. That was against a quarters coverage look. There was the 4th and 2 play last week where it was a really nice design. They had Alvin running like a choice route. He's killed people on those in the past, where instead of like breaking in or out or sitting down in the zone, he like stutter stepped and then took it vertical, and he was open. He was like right in the exact spot you want him to be against the cover 2, and the ball just wasn't perfect. And Alvin probably misjudged it in the air. So like they have a lot of stuff like that this year where the opportunities are there, they're just not cashing in on them.
Yeah, and like to that, whenever they get a favorable look, like they will take it. But I sent you this the other day. They've only gotten 22 snaps against cover 1, but when they've gotten that look, I mean, Rattler hit a 39-yard pass to Rashid Shaheed on that nice play action against the 49ers. Like if the looks are there, Rattler's gonna take them, and yeah,
They just gotta connect on them.
yep.
A related note here too is the penalties. You're having pre-snap penalties,
Right.
And you're in 2nd and 15 all the time. Then what's the defense going to do? I mean, they're just going to sit back and say, "Okay, no big plays for you."
Right. It's why everything goes hand in hand. Yeah, they got to be in 2nd and 6 sometimes to take a deep shot.
The offensive line being back is obviously a positive. I do wonder how much the lack of continuity contributes to some of these pre-snap penalties. Am I off base?
I mean, I think that's definitely part of it. I think the tempo is part of it. And I think they just also kind of, for lack of a better term, got to kind of get their head out of their rear ends. Yeah. I mean, like some of this stuff is just like you can't blame the lack of continuity for Eric McCoy like not hearing the snap, or for Chris Olave having an illegal shift penalty because he's not getting set after a motion. It's just like there is some element of that to it, I think, but like a lot of it is just like they need to get better, which is why they've just like consistently had 6 or 7 referees out there at practice every week. Like that's not a normal thing for an NFL team to do, but they keep having the same problems over and over.
Yeah. Though it is a little bit of continuity because I was talking to Torricelli Simpkins, who had the false start on the tush push play, and he was saying that he went early because he was so used to playing center that when he hears ready, set, like he starts his motion at center at ready to snap the ball, but he was playing guard. And so just instinctively he kind of like reacted
Flinched.
when he heard the ready. And that's where like, if you're playing a ton of guard reps and you're used to playing center, that's kind of where it gets a little mismatched.
Would argue that's a head out of the butt situation though. Like I get
yeah.
like there is an element of continuity to that, but like, hey man, you're playing guard in an NFL football game.
Yeah, sure,
like,
absolutely.
like,
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
let's focus in
Right.
here, and also
No,
like,
but,
no,
like, you're
yes.
right, but like I mean, they do like this is stuff that is like, and Kellen Moore has said this over and over and over again. This is stuff that they have control over.
yeah, if you were going to run the tush push against Seattle and Torricelli Simpkins was going to be playing guard, maybe give him some reps in practice at guard in the tush push so
Yeah.
that doesn't happen.
I mean, he did practice at guard, to be fair, but
I don't know. The whole thing is
something
maddening. And what are we at, Rod? 31 penalties through 3 games?
31, tied with the Titans.
It's just a crazy number. And I think more than half of those are pre-snap.
Yeah, and Buffalo has committed 14 penalties the entire season.
just what I think the offense alone is at 14. It was 14, 11, and 6.
Saints O-line, Buffalo's
Buffalo-
entire team.
Over 3 games. I mean,
Crazy.
that's pretty impressive. That tells you why. I mean, that explains why they're so good too. I mean, they don't beat themselves.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned, Matt, about Miami kind of using bubble screens and short passes. Devon Achane had 7 catches for 29 yards in that game with a long of 15. So you take out the 15-yard, like Buffalo swarms on that stuff. They didn't have Oliver or Milano in that game either. I don't know. Do we consider Buffalo to have a good defense? I don't know where I come down on that. I think they're a little weak up the middle.
Yeah, I think they've kind of underachieved under McDermott defensively.
I think he's a pretty good defensive coach.
I think he's
I
good.
don't know if they have the personnel, but
Well, but they've constantly dealt with injuries there over the course of his tenure, and haven't gotten as much out of some guys that they were kind of hoping for. Milano's been injured like every year. They've kind of had this rotating cast of characters in the secondary, but they also play. I mean, they play a lot of high-profile games. Play a lot of games against the Chiefs and Ravens and teams that are going to put up a lot of points and yards. So, like, I think, like, you look back at that Week 1 game and you're like, God, they look terrible. They were giving up like 9 yards a pop on the ground. They're doing that against like two super freak aliens in Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. So I don't know. I think the answer is I don't know if their defense is any good. I think we'll get a sense of it this weekend.
Yeah. Well, speaking of super freak aliens, when the Bills have the ball, the quarterback is a fellow named Josh Allen. Rod, you wrote about this. I mean, Carl Grander's from college teammates with him. A lot of these guys have played him. Justin Reed has played him in a lot of those high-profile games Luke is talking about. He's just he's so productive at all times, but especially when he needs to be. It seems like he rises to the occasion.
Yeah, I mean, he's just one of those rare quarterbacks that you see in the league. And, I think back to that game the Saints played against Baltimore a few years back. I mean, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, they got some of the same. They're able to do some of the same things as far as beat with their arms and legs, and Josh just extends plays, and it could make for a long day for the Saints. He had a really good game against the Saints in the Dome in 2021. He had like 4 touchdowns, and he wasn't nearly then what he is now. So I just think it's going to be a big problem for the Saints, even just trying to slow this team down enough.
When you think about how to game plan against this guy, it's difficult with a good defense, with the personnel that you want for your scheme. The Saints don't have that stuff. They have injuries on defense, Matt. Like, what is even the plan going to be?
Well, I think they need to get more pressure than they have been. The Saints are last in total pressures and quarterback pressure rate. Chase Young, it looks like he's not going to play, so that's another area that's missing. But honestly, I don't know. I've been really impressed with Buffalo's line. They're allowing the fewest amount of pressures so far in the league, or at least in pressure rate. They have a really great rushing attack to complement Allen. Like, they don't have these all-star receivers. Like, they're missing Stephon Diggs, who was, for so long Allen's kind of crutch. But ever since he left a few seasons ago, they've really reinvented that offense, and they're still really explosive. Like, that's the thing, big picture-wise, when I think about this game, is that, like, Buffalo scored 30 points in
It's 12 of their last 14 games.
Yeah.
I don't know
Right
if
there.
it's statute
No,
of
I looked up 12 last season.
Yeah.
And then 3 to start this season. Like, it's, man, like the Saints just struggle to get 30. I don't even think they've gotten it under Spencer Rattler. So it's tough.
Yeah, that's why I think this game is going to be so hard. Even if I just don't think they can put up. You can't match that many points. I mean, I don't know if the Saints can score 30 points on anybody.
Yeah.
And I mean, Josh can do like literally everything.
Yeah. Even pressuring him, probably not.
Quick game, really, really good. Downfield throws, really, really good. Out of structure plays, probably the best in the NFL. Maybe with the exception of Lamar. And he can really kill you as a runner. He's just such a dynamic player. He's so I don't think it's really possible to like game plan for him.
Right.
It is interesting that they're able to do all this without having James Cook is probably their only like elite other like skill position player. They've just got like a lot of like good players. Khalil Shakir is pretty good. Keon Coleman's having a nice start to the year. They got the 2 tight ends in Kincaid and Knox, who are both like good players. They don't have anybody who's like really gonna kill you. I think Josh Palmer's their other wide receiver, but like when you put those guys with like a supercharger and Josh Allen, it makes everybody better. And then their line, I mean, they got one of the best left tackles in football in Dawkins. Spencer Brown, I think, is going to be questionable for this game. He's Trevor Penning's college teammate. He's really good right tackle. They've just got they've got good players across the board with a superstar at quarterback and like a rising star running back. It's just it's really, really, really tough going up against this offense.
One thing, and maybe this is the Saints' best hope, and it sounds sad to say this, but it's just you almost have to allow the Bills to be conservative, because Josh Allen's his rushing yards go way up when they're behind. They go way up in playoff games. I mean, he doesn't do it unless he has to. He doesn't put himself, like a lot of quarterbacks, he won't put himself in harm's way unless the opportunity calls for it or is needed. So maybe they get conservative. You can get them in a game state that surprises them. make a mistake. I mean, you almost need Buffalo to play like a D game to even have a chance.
Yeah, and I would also say
On
that
offense.
the Saints need to be like tighter in coverage. I was a little surprised yesterday when I asked Brandon Staley about I asked him basically if he was concerned at the frequency at which quarterbacks are completing their passes. It's like slightly above 70%. It's the third worst rate in the league, and he said that like part of that is by design almost, that they're limiting explosives. And if you look at the numbers, that's true. Like the Saints aren't allowing explosive plays nearly at the rate that they were last year. Now, I would say to that, in key moments, these teams have just all hit on like explosive plays when they've needed to, like the 42-yard in the San Francisco game, for instance. Seattle hit on a 45-yarder last week. Like, it's killing them at opportune times, but you're just giving teams a little bit too many gimmies to allow them like to go down the field, and that's not going to work against Josh Allen.
Yeah, and they definitely can't give him second opportunities. It's happened every single game this year where they've gotten a stop on third down, and the stop's been negated by a penalty. Every game. I think there was 2 in the San Francisco game, but at least one in every game. I asked Brandon Staley about that. I'm like, yeah, I think he had one in every game, and he's like, yes, yes, we have. It's something that is clearly like bugging them, because a lot of this stuff is preventable stuff, like the Brian Brzee headbutt last week after a stop. Like, you can't have that. Yeah. They can't give that to Buffalo this week.
They've had 11 defensive penalties. 5 have come on third down. 5 third down penalties on defense is the most in the league.
If Josh Allen makes a rare mistake, you got to have it count. You can't be giving him another chance, because I don't think he's turned the ball over at all this year.
I don't think Buffalo has a turnover, do they?
Maybe not. I know they don't have any interceptions.
Yeah, I don't think they have any fumbles or interceptions.
So, yeah, it's going to be tough, and that means that even more pressure goes on the offense. And then we'll come to the third phase of the game here in special teams, and like
this is the bright spot.
Well, the bright thing is it can't be worse.
Yeah, it can't be worse than that. No. You can't have that many bad plays in that time span.
Dear God, I hope it can't be worse.
If it gets worse, I don't know. I mean, Phil Galliano is going to have a lot to answer for, or maybe he won't. Maybe he won't have anything to answer for. Maybe he'll be paying his bags.
I mean, like, look, I just think, I think they've got to get Groupie on track this week. You're kind of running out of ways to say we think he's going to be okay with 3 straight games with the miss. And last week's obviously was a little bit different than the first 2. It's from 52 yards, but like it's still a kick you expect Blake Groupie or an NFL kicker to make. So they've got to get him back on track. Yeah, unless it means they're not kicking because they're scoring a bunch of touchdowns, great. But like they need to get him back in a rhythm, because I do still think he's good. But like it's getting harder and harder and harder to say that. If you're talking about 3 straight weeks with a miss, and 2 of those weeks, I mean, those misses were really critical for them.
And it becomes mental after a while, as we all know, for a kicker. So,
right.
I don't know. What Phil Galliano obviously took ownership and said this is awful. It's got to be better. I'm curious to know specifically what changes especially on those punt plays.
Yeah, I mean, the punt block was just a miscommunication between one guy. I'm not sure who was supposed to block it, but he didn't.
Came completely unblocked off the edge.
And there was a mix-up there. The punt explanation was interesting. Galliano didn't really focus. I mean, he focused on the coverage in the sense that he said like it came down to leverage and that they didn't like do their job in the way that they were supposed to. But he took issue a little bit with the punt, which I would say Kai Kroger hasn't had the strongest start to the season, but he said the distance was fine, but the hang time was not. And I think it was under 4.7 seconds. And
he said the punt hang time was 4.4.
Right.
And if you're going to kick a ball 60 yards, the hang time has to be like 4.7. Because that's that 0.3 of a second is going to allow Velus Jones to get there and make a play versus
Out-kicking your cover.
Yeah, he's sprinting down there and he's not in position to make the play right when the guy makes a catch.
Luke's got it.
Sorry, buddy.
No, it's good. Clear, concise. That's why I have you read my copy. So.
But I mean, like a lot of people looked at Phil Galliano and said, well, he's been Darren Rizzi's assistant forever, and this unit will be fine. and we're finding out that
Great
that
hire.
is not the case. Like and whether that's just a look, it's only been 3 weeks. Maybe it was just a blip, bad game, but this is an issue for the Saints, and it seems to be an issue for bad teams that have bad special teams.
I'm not going to blame. You can't really blame Groupie's misses on him. I don't think.
On Galliano.
Yeah,
I mean,
right. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, what happened last week? You just got to hope that was just a one-time thing, and it doesn't happen again as far as the block punts and the punt return. But
And a 60-yard field goal.
and
right
6
there.
yard.
And this
kick-
happened.
kick return.
No, like even if Darren Rizzi was here, like I mean, go look at Denver's start to the season. I mean, they lost on week 1. They've lost on back-to-back field goals, or in week 2, but
committed a penalty.
one of those was a leverage penalty on special
Yeah.
teams. Like if that had happened here, we would have said, oh, like they're really missing Rizzi's presence. Well, it happened to Rizzi. So like, I don't know necessarily if the change itself is all on Galliano, but look, you've got to coach up your unit to be disciplined and play sound, and that hasn't happened so far.
Yeah, and like as we've said over and over and over again, like if the Saints team is going to win games, it's going to be on like pretty thin margins.
Yeah.
Like getting your butt whipped on special teams is like going to expand that margin by a good bit, especially as it did last week.
Yeah,
I mean, they lost 14 points on special teams last week alone.
You talk about margin. Special teams are supposed to be, we gained a point here or a point
Right.
there. They were like minus 15 on special teams last week. Like it was really bad. Okay, so we're going to get into keys to the game. I did want, before we do that, Luke, just to give you a chance. You're working on a story I find super interesting. You weren't here on Wednesday, and we talked about this a little bit with Kellen Moore and like what a loss in like they had in Seattle means for a rookie head coach. And I think the answer is it's not necessarily the end of the world.
Yeah. I was just curious. I was like, okay, let's look at some of the best coaches in the NFL. Guys, we are all pretty consistently can agree that they are at the top of their profession. Dan Campbell, his rookie year as a coach, he lost the game 44-6. Kevin O'Connell, Vikings head coach, they went 13-4 in his rookie season. One of those losses was 40-3. John Harbaugh, Baltimore Ravens, way back in 2008, lost the game 31-3. Sean McDermott, Buffalo Bills, got their tail whipped by the Saints 47-10. It's really like Kyle Shanahan, 40-10 to the Cowboys. So like, it's really easy in these like moments, especially early in a coach's tenure, to take the one sample out of 3 and extrapolate it to like this huge picture, like, oh, he's clearly not ready for this job, or he's no good as a coach, and maybe that'll end up being true. But I do think that like this is something, especially when you got a new coach, more often than not, they're taking over a bad situation, and they're trying to make it right, and this sort of thing happens quite often in the NFL. With rookie coaches specifically. So haven't looked at all the failed head coaches to see how many times they got blown out of the water in their rookie season. I'm sure it's quite a few, so it's not like anything super meaningful, but it is good to keep that perspective sometimes when you're looking at somebody their first time doing the job. This sort of thing does happen.
Everybody gets their tail kicked sometimes in the NFL. Yeah. And I am curious because this is I don't. It's funny because, like, let's say the Saints play a competitive game but lose by 10 or whatever this week. If you had flipped the results and they had played a competitive game and lost by 10 in Seattle and then get their doors blown off in Buffalo, everybody would have been like, okay, that's about what I expected, and they're going to come home, and now we see what the rest of the season holds. So I am curious to see if those results maybe get flipped and we can look at that week 3 as just a bad week.
I mean, yeah. They might get blown out this week too.
Sure.
Like they might get blown out this week too. We just don't know. I just think it's always good to try to keep some like historical perspective on this sort of stuff. Just because especially when it happens early in the season, early in somebody's tenure, whether it's a head coach, a quarterback, whatever. I just think like bad things do happen, and it's not always indicative of what the future is going to hold for those people.
And I think the end of the season will inform kind of how the public kind of feels about those games too, because the Niners are 3-0, the Seahawks 4-0 now.
No, they lost to the Niners.
3-1.
Yeah.
They're 3-1.
And then the Cardinals are now 2-2, but they were pretty good teams. Like the Cardinals were really scrappy against the Seahawks last night.
And those teams have only lost to each other.
Right.
Like they're all undefeated against anyone except the three of them.
Yeah, like the NFC West is stacked. So I don't think they're necessarily bad. They're not losses to bad teams. But that could also change if things fall off the rails at the end of the season for, let's say, the Cardinals. And it's, man, how did you lose to the Cardinals in week 1? Like
Right.
that's kind of where time will tell.
Yeah.
Okay, with that said, let's get into our keys to the game. Again, 366 times teams have been this big of an underdog. They've won 10% of them. What do the Saints need to do to be among the 10%? How many Hail Marys? And I mean the prayers, not the passes.
Which one are you talking about? I'm trying to think of something different than just run the ball well, because I do think, to me, that's the most important thing. They just got to run the ball and try to somehow keep Buffalo's offense off the field, because the Saints, like I said earlier, they can't score 30 points, which they're probably going to have a shot at winning this game. So get Kamara and Kendre Miller going and hope, the addition of, bringing Penning back helps. And to me, that's their only formula to win.
Keep the ball, move the ball. Luke?
Yeah, well, I mean, I just see such a narrow path to this. They've got to, do the things that they've been doing really poorly to start the year. They got to flip it. They got to be good on third down. They got to force some turnovers. They've forced, two so far this year, both fumbles. Yep. Pre-snap penalties, out the door. They got to have some impact moments on special teams. It's like all this stuff that is just piled up and piled up and piled up and added to 3 straight losses. At some point, it's got to turn around. And I don't think they're going to get all of that to turn around in one game. Right. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball and force turnovers and make an impact play on special teams and avoid the penalties. Which is why I just see a hard time for them winning this game. But if they get some of those going in their way, maybe it can be competitive. I don't know.
He mentioned third downs. Buffalo they were pretty bad on third downs against the Dolphins. They were Dolphins converted 10 out of 15. So, if you can do that and extend some drives, it helps.
Situationally, I think the Saints are 29th in the NFL on third down right now. And a lot of it is those pre-snap penalties and not getting the run game going. So, I mean, if they can do those two things, maybe it'll help the third thing. And maybe they can luck into a turnover or two. But there's a lot of things that have to go right for this team that haven't gone right to this stage of the year for them to even be competitive in this game, much less win it.
Yeah, I mean, outside the obviousness of Josh Allen spraining an ankle and Mitch Trubisky having to play, I know we talked about running the ball and stuff, but if they're not going to be able to do that, then they're going to have to keep pace with points. And as Luke was just saying, we haven't really seen that, but that's a way for them to stay in it also, is just, all right, Buffalo scored a touchdown, go down the field. You would need a career day from Spencer Rattler, but it's one of the only ways that I think I could see them being competitive, is just matching touchdown for touchdown and getting to shootout territory. But I don't know. I don't think they have the firepower to really do that.
If you spotted the Saints 14 points, let's say you get off the bus and it's 14-0 Saints to start the game, do you think the Saints will win?
No, I don't think, because that's different than covering the spread, because then Buffalo
I think
is
it would. Yeah,
play to win.
Yeah.
Look, I think if you are going to pull off what would be one of the 40 biggest upsets in NFL history, something crazy has to happen. A fumbled kickoff return, a pick six, Josh Allen reaches for the pylon and fumbles it and it becomes a touchback. It's something weird. Usually turnovers is what we're talking about, but it could be, you get your own special teams touchdown or something. Something weird has to happen. It has to happen early in the game to make Buffalo go, maybe play a little out of character, maybe. This is not really a team that panics. So even in that scenario, you're
they know they can drop 30 on
that's kind of why I was asking about this.
Maybe more likely, they're kind of sleepwalking and they're up 24-13 to start the fourth quarter, and then something like that happens and you're going, oh crap, it's 24-21. We got a game on our hands here. That might be the path more so, for the Saints. So with that said, we will try to find out. We will try to predict what's going to happen. You can leave your predictions in the comments below on our YouTube page. We always enjoy looking at those. Hit the like button while you're there. And Rod Walker, start us off. Or actually, we're going to let Jeff start us off. Jeff's not here. Jeff does have the Bills winning and he's got 33-16. We're all pretty similar here, I think. Unfortunately, no outliers. 33-16 for Jeff Duncan. Rod, what you got?
I put 37-17, I think.
37-17, yep.
That's because I put I'm always the first one to put mine in because I set that file up, but after thinking about it, I think I kind of want to go up to like 42 maybe.
Going 40 burger?
I think they are going to hit 40 mark, yeah.
Oh,
That's
all
my,
right.
yeah.
I don't. I have the Saints covering the spread. I have 31-17, and I just think it's because of what I said. I think they sleepwalk a little bit, and you can tell in the way that they're handling their injuries, like they know they can win this game. I don't think they're out to blow anybody out. I do think the Saints will play a cleaner game, and because of that, it won't get too bad.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I think there's going to be opportunity for, like the Buffalo Bills are probably going to get out to a big early lead, and the Saints have an opportunity to try to make up some ground on that. So I think I have a 31-20 Buffalo win. Saints cover the spread, but not in a super convincing manner.
That could definitely be a touchdown in the final 2 minutes to cover the spread sort of game, which is why it's dangerous to bet on the favorites here. Matt?
Yeah, at 34-16, I could see like Buffalo either scoring quickly and getting out to a big lead and kind of coasting, or just having really lengthy drives to, kind of kill the clock and still score. And the Saints don't have the firepower to keep up. And so that's the impressive thing about Buffalo is they can beat you in all sorts of different ways. And I just don't see the Saints being able to keep up with that.
I was going to say we all had 30s to teens, except you went up to 40. Oh, and Luke had 20. Luke has the Saints getting to 20. But we're all in the same range, so that means something crazy will happen. We'll find out. We will have a post-game show for you after the game, which is a noon kickoff on Sunday on CBS. These guys are headed up to Buffalo. We still looking at 70s for the weather?
Yeah, it's BS, man.
I mean, it sounds pretty good to me.
Just wanted to wear a coat, Buffalo. They enjoy some fall weather.
What did you want? You wanted 40s or 50s?
50s.
50s, okay.
High 50s, maybe low 60s.
Rod might boycott and just not go if it was 50s.
So, Rod, the only reason Rod's going to this game is because it's in September.
That's right. All right, we will see you guys at our post-game show. Oh, and Norm, are you calling for the upset? No, Norm's the eternal optimist, but he's like, no, he's not going to do it. Look, I think in a lot of ways, we'll talk about this next week, but assuming the Saints lose this game, the season, what's left of the season really begins next week. Like, we got to see what this team is. The schedule gets much easier after this.
Yeah.
So, get out of Buffalo healthy. Don't get embarrassed again. Save face.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. All right, that's been the Saints Insider. We're full of positivity on this Friday. We will see you for the post-game show Sunday. For our producer, Norm Bell, he's Rod Walker. I'm Zach Ewing. He's Luke Johnson, and that's Matthew Paris, and we will see you next time.